What's up, rockers?
Hey, I'm Kaz.
And I'm Shay, and welcome to another exciting episode of For the Record with Kaz and Shay. Kaz, good to see you. It's our first official episode of 2023.
Yeah, we gave ourselves a little break.
Took a little break, had some fun. The holidays were great. Did you make any New Year's resolutions? Buy more albums, buy less albums, see more shows?
I don't think I've gone to a show. Have I? Yeah.
We saw Zeke ring in the new year. That was awesome.
With Matt Pike.
With Matt Pike, it was loud. It was raucous. It was everything you'd want in a rock show. It was great.
Yes, it was fun.
It was fun. And hopefully we have a lot of rock shows to see this year, cool shows to do, excellent guests, maybe some bad guests too, naughty guests.
All of them. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it all.
Let's flash back, though.
Flashback to when? 1990s?
Yes, that sounds like a good decade.
1990s. Both of us, well, you turned 18 at the latter part of 1989, if I'm correct.
Yeah. And so, the 90s was when 21,
These are our formative music buying years.
Right.
Lots of music coming out. We're probably working jobs where we have a little bit of disposable income where we can start buying albums. For me, it was CDs, maybe even a cassette towards the...
Cassettes were kind of... you had to have a little high school type college job to get CDs. They were still kind of like a little expensive for a media outlet.
Not when you do the, Columbia House, buy 13 CDs or whatever for $1.
Yeah.
Those were great.
Those were.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And I had
a job, though.
You had the same job you have now.
I still have it 35 years later. That's why I was able to buy all my compact discs.
That's awesome. And I believe in the 90s, I probably had several hundred CDs stolen in my cars because they always had fairly loud stereos. And I would always... People would know when Shahan's coming through the neighborhood. They could hear me.
Yeah,
and then they'd steal my stuff.
What were you playing?
A lot of hip-hop, a lot of rap in the early part of the 90s, and then it transitioned into a little bit of more rock, a little combinations, rap rock.
The 90s was really interesting, especially from our region. We obviously had, the Northwest explosion.
It was quite an explosion.
And then we had like a little bit of it all, though. I mean, we had some of those old veterans that put out some of their best stuff, like Johnny Cash came back with his American recordings with Rick Rubin. Neil Young was putting out some good stuff. And then, there was the third wave of ska music came out, so there was a lot of variety in the 90s.
The whole nu metal thing. I never bought nu metal on albums, but a couple of years ago, I was going through some old CDs, and I'm like, did I really need, Limp Bizkit? I had Limp Bizkit and Korn. I might have even had a Creed CD. Did you ever own a Creed CD?
No.
Good for you.
Nope, I'm proud
Good
of that.
For you. Hey, that one of those albums was really good. It was popular, and then whatever.
Right.
We digress. So we listened to it all. And so this is an episode about our 9 favorite albums from the 90s. And so this list is going to omit a lot of the big albums of the 90s.
Right, because the 90s, I look at my 90s, 22, bought a house, and the housewarming gift I got was a Sega Genesis and a kegerator. So we would put on some CDs and play that Sega hockey, like in that, what's that movie where they do that with Vince Vaughn?
Oh, Swingers.
Yeah, me and my buddies would do that. And I'd always take the Chicago Blackhawks because Jeremy Roenick was the fastest.
Yeah, and then did you guys go swing, or did you stay home and swing?
No, we stayed home and listened to more CDs.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like a wide variety of music back then to choose from. You think of it, the Sunset Strip, LA glam was pretty much done. It was gone.
Yeah.
Some of those bands still maybe released an album in the 90s that no one cared.
Yeah, nobody cared.
No.
Nobody cared. There's just a lot of different music. So as we go through these albums and you're sitting there, I hope you're watching, you're like, what about Nirvana's Nevermind? Sorry, it just didn't make this list.
Right. This is more of a personal connection with our albums and stuff from that era.
Yeah, but I know that when I was just looking at, okay, what albums I'm going to do, I think I wrote down 30 albums that could have been done.
It's hard.
There's this, of all we've done our favorite albums of the 70s and the 80s, now we're doing the 90s. Of all those decades, this is the one that will warrant a part 2.
Yeah.
for sure.
And we were just looking at it, oh, geez, we could have added this one.
Forgot about this one, yeah.
You know, certain party factors in a certain period of life, you know, enabled certain ones to make the cut.
Yeah.
So
are you ready to jump right into it?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll let you get started.
I'm first for once. So my first album is this one, which is Caius, Blues for the Red Sun. And as you can see, I'm quite proud that it's been signed by Mr. Brant Bjork and Nick Oliveri. Hopefully one day I'll have a Josh Homme signature here and then a John Garcia signature here to have the whole band signed it. But Caius is a band that was around in the early 90s, and I know like Nirvana was a big fan of them, and Dave Grohl especially. I really got into these guys in more towards the mid 90s, and especially after Queens of the Stone Age came out, because when Queens of the Stone Age came out, I'm like, oh yeah, Josh Homme was in Caius, and I revisited it, and this album is just so good. Stoner rock at its finest. It's loud and aggressive, and it's awesome, and it's weird, and everything I love about music is in this album. So, Kelsie, would you play a little bit of Green Machine? Great opening riff on this one. Do some table drumming. Great. And so I had this signed when Stoner came through last year. That's Nick Oliveri and Brant Bjork, and I can't remember Ian Good. I can't remember the drummer, but they played this, and it was amazing. That's probably the closest I'll get to seeing Caius play, and it was really amazing. What's your first album there, bro?
Well, they never put it out on album.
It would be right here.
It would be.
Oops.
And I think it's stored in my somewhere, but I had it autographed. But back in the day, like all the guys like that I hung out with in high school, like Joe Bean, Jansen Fallon, Eric Brading, and all those guys, we would drive to these like shows that were, you know, all ages back then. And I remember in the back of a Hit Parader magazine, there was always an advertisement for this band called Vane. They were from San Francisco, and you send away and get the free, like, 2-song demo.
Okay.
Whatever, mini EP. But anyhow, so they were playing 2 shows we went to. So the band I'm going to talk about on the second show was in Tacoma at a place called Legends. It was like an old gymnasium. But the opening act at the time went by the title SGM, which they made it whatever. Like, at that time, they were calling it Shotgun Mama.
Okay.
So I thought they were really cool. And then they morphed. The band turned into Sweetwater. And that album was the one that we played our Sega Genesis to, I should say actually CD, to Sega Genesis all the time and drank a lot of beer. You know, they didn't get the notoriety of some of the other bands, but man, they were my favorite. And then they followed that one up with Super Friends. And I remember seeing them before they kind of hit it big because they had played the Paramount Theater and stuff. And I remember seeing them in Tacoma, and then they would play it like right before they kind of had their peak. They played at a place called the Red Roof Pub in Tacoma, and these were all these little shows where it's like 21 and watching those. But Sweetwater's first album to me was just so cool, and it was just like that album that me and all my buddies listened to. You know, you had that one, you'd have a party at the house, we would put that one in. So this one's off their first album. The song's called Everything Will Be All Right.
See
I don't know. I think they're still playing shows, but we saw them 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, they're fantastic still.
And you mentioned some of your friends. I want to mention some. We took Jim Bowie and Jeff Gonzalez there.
Right.
Guys that don't go see a lot of shows. And they love Sweetwater. It was a really killer
It's just good rock.
It is
really,
good
it's
rock.
Catchy.
It's
I
good time
dig
rock
it.
and roll. Makes you dance, make you party. We hugged. We did everything there. It was a good time.
It was.
You know who else is a good time? God dang it. Sorry about that, America. Green Day's album, Dookie. Say what you will about Green Day. Kelsie, are they sellouts? No, it's just good rock and roll. Some people... Kelsie told me she was so glad that I included Green Day on the list. So I just want to make Kelsie happy. So you're welcome. This album is so good. Play it front to back. It's awesome. You know, they get some crap like they're sellouts, but they're not sellouts. The music they played just became popular. You know, they didn't change the way they played to fit a radio station or whatever. It just became popular. And I love this album. I love all of the songs in this album. I really like the song She. So, Kelsie, if you play that, that would be killer. It's just good. It's good stuff. Are you going next?
Yeah, I have the first album cover that I get to show. I told you I went to college, right?
Yeah.
You did too?
Yeah.
You went to a few different ones.
I went to 5 different colleges. What do I have to show for it? A degree from one of them, but no friends from any. My college career is nothing to write home about.
Well, you know, I went to college, and then you meet a bunch of people from different areas, and they kind of turn you on to other stuff. And so my buddy Sam got me really into this band right here, Ministry. And then I ended up seeing them in concert, and it was just mind-blowing. This album, Psalm 69, was just insane. And he got me kind of turned on to a lot of the Wax Track record stuff with like Chris Conley and bands like Revolting Cocks, Pigface, and all that stuff. And it was kind of cool, but I just really clung on to Ministry. That was kind of like your angry album you listen to. Mm-hmm. And then the song we're going to play you is their collaboration. Al Jurgensen's good friends with Gibby Haynes, and they did the song with Gibby Haynes singing called Jesus Built My Hot Rod, which was like kind of a staple on my CD player on the repeat play.
For sure.
But Ministry, one of the albums that I listened to quite a bit in the 90s. So, Kelsie, let's hear that.
Were you much of a dancer in the 90s, Cass?
Oh, overly Caucasian. Brian doesn't dance.
Did you go to the East Side Club ever on Thursday night?
Saw Grunt Truck play.
There you go. Well, Thursday night...
It was cheap beer night.
Cheap beer night. I love cheap beer night to this day. But they would have dancing on Thursday night. It would be hip-hop. And then someone would always request Jesus Built My Hot Rod, and it would turn into a mosh pit for 3 or 4 minutes, and then it would be over. And I love that song. I would... when I would go skiing, the few times I would go skiing by myself, I'd always have a Walkman, and that would always be on a mix that I would play. Very aggressive, makes you want to ski and do cool tricks. Yes. My next album is my introduction to the band NoFX, which, as I've chronicled a million times on the show, has become my favorite band. Somewhere right after this album came out, I heard the song Linoleum, and I'm like, these guys are fucking great. And I've loved them since, really love them now more than any other band. But So good. I mean, this came out in 94, a couple years after El Jefe joined. The first 3 NoFX albums were a little bit, I don't like them as much as when he joined, but after he joined, they did White Trash, 2 Hebes and a Bean, which is a great title. And this is the second album with El Jefe on the guitar, and he's got great backing vocals and everything. So I'd love to hear the song Linoleum off this album, Kelsie.
I'm not crazy. Well, that's not true. I've got a bed and a guitar and a tiny bomb who pisses on my floor. That's right, I got a flaw. So what? So what? So what? I've got pockets full of Kleenex and linen holes where everything important to me just seems to fall right down my neck and onto the floor.
I love them.
Good band.
Great band. Coming to an end. Sadly.
Well, I remember it was funny because like my old man liked music a lot, and he finally caved in when I bought him a CD player and started buying them. And, he would kind of get the older ones first. But I remember him coming home one day. Hey, Brian, come on down. I want you to hear the new Neil Young. Like, really? Neil Young? Still putting out stuff, huh? Is it good? And we sat, we listened to it, and this album right here, Harvest Moon, I think is one of his best albums. It is just a masterpiece in every way. And then I ended up seeing him headline the Gorge with Booker T and the MGs as his backing band, and the opening act was Pearl Jam. And God, it was just so phenomenal to see Neil Young at, putting out some of his best work this late in the game. It was so cool. But this album definitely was an essential part of my 90s, It's kind of cool. Like, for me, it was, like, more personal with the dad listening to it, too. And definitely it was just kind of a story album. It was just, all the songs were great. This first song that Kelsey's going to play is called Unknown Legend.
That's what we are.
To work in a diner, never saw a woman look finer.
I have never seen Neil Young.
You got to put him on your bucket list.
I should. He's still doing it?
Farm Aid every year.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do an episode at Farm Aid. I'm serious.
I actually still have a T-shirt from when I worked it.
Awesome. My next album is the debut album by the Foo Fighters. What do you know about this album, Brian?
My good buddy Tim Gaber, who designed my van.
Oh, did the wrap on your van?
Did the album cover.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty iconic little ray gun album cover.
Yeah.
So this album, started as, Dave recording everything, and then when he's going to go tour it, he put a band together. It's a really good album. I love it. I play it all the time. And the song that I want to play off this, I'm actually cheating, because the first single off this album was called Exhausted, but the B-side was a song called Winnebago, which might be on like a deluxe edition of this album, but it's not on this album. I'm cheating. I acknowledge that. That's okay. I don't know how I heard the B-side before anything else, but Winnebago is the first official Foo Fighters song I heard. I'm like, this is great. Dave's got a career after Nirvana. This is awesome. So let's play that. Kelsie. Foo Fighters, they're announcing shows for 2023. They will go on. Who's going to be the drummer? Nobody knows, but knowing the Foo Fighters and what a big, important band it is. For a lot of people, it's going to be an amazing drummer.
Who would you want to see them drum with?
Well, we've talked about this a couple times. It's like there's so many killer drummers out there. Like Josh Freese would be awesome, but who can replace Taylor's voice? The harmonies between Dave and Taylor are almost harder to produce than his drumming style. So I don't know. I don't know who's the best singing drummer that's available. Like Joey Castillo, he would be a monster, but he didn't sing.
I'm going to pull for Dusty Watson.
Dusty Watson, okay. Does Dusty sing? Can he hold a tune?
Dusty, for his wedding, when he got married, recorded a song for Ricky, and it was just actually beautiful. I was like, wow, that's yours, huh?
All right, Dusty. Good luck. He could do it. He could
Just
play.
because he's one of my favorite drummers.
He is, and he's just a swell guy all the way around.
Awesome guy.
Yeah, he's going to be on the show one of these days. Dusty, get ready.
We're looking for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, actually, in the 90s, my buddy that introduced me to ministry also kind of introduced me at the time to the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones back before they had their big album. They were kind of just, and all this music had to do with drinking a lot of beer and stuff. And so we actually went to the Rock Candy. Can you imagine how small that stage was to see the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones or any ska band, But the opening act blew me away. They were called the Pie Tasters. And this album is just so cool that every time the Pie Tasters would come, we would all trek up to Seattle, drink a lot of beer. And it's kind of, this was kind of like during the ska era. There's like a bunch of bands that came out around that area. Like you say, the Boss Tones. There's like Real Big Fish, Mustard Plug, Less Than Jake, a bunch of those bands. But this guy, and then I'd become friends with Tom, the original guitarist for the Pie Tasters, and I just loved their albums, loved their shows more than anything. And this mainly had to do with us being young and drinking a lot of beer, because like I said, I had a kegerator at the house, and it was always something to do, listening to the CDs. But this is a song called Girl Take It Easy by the Pie Tasters.
I see you with your ska moves over there. Get up and skank.
This morning to your tapping at my front door. Girl, take it easy. Well, I woke up this morning to you knocking at my front door. Girl, take it easy.
They were such a fun band. I mean, we'd take a couple vehicles up and just go to the shows and just drink a lot of beer.
It sounds great. I might have to borrow that because you were playing that on Christmas Eve, I believe, right?
Yeah.
With Wade, and I really liked it, and I haven't really heard them that much. So my next album is by a band called Face to Face. Face to Face, love this band. I love this album. This is their self-titled album, 1996, I believe. I really grew fond of them after their 95 album, Big Choice, because that was the one that had Disconnected on it, and that got a lot of airplay. And so that whole 94, 95, 96 was a pivotal time for me to get back into rock. As I've mentioned before, I was R&B and hip-hop, through the early 90s and beyond, but it was like Face to Face and Civ and some other bands right in that time that really got me back into rock. And I love Face to Face. I love this album. I play it all the time. And my favorite song off that is a song called Blind that you're going to hear now and you're going to fall in love with if you haven't heard it, or you can have your money back.
I'm right and you wrong. What if you knew it all along? What if I figured out that I did not belong? What if it always bothered me? What if I never did believe? Would it be wrong if I decided I should leave? If I pretended I was fine, struck it from my mind, would it still be there?
So, we go to see a lot of shows. Our bucket list is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Face to Face is on my bucket list. I bucket list. I haven't seen them yet. Have you seen them?
96.
96. Probably playing that song right there. And you're like almost 30 years from now, I'm going to be on a show and I'm going to talk about that album. Did you foresee it? Are you are you a seer? Are you like a little Kreskin, a little Nostradamus?
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew it. Okay. Beautiful. What's going to happen to me this year? New baby, marriage, new job.
Okay, let's get to my next album.
Damn it. I need to know. I got to make some plans and make some calls.
Well, this is, like I said, we talked about this probably has a little regional bias, but this album right here, Alice in Chains Facelift. I remember back in high school, there was a battle of the bands at St. Martin's College, band called Diamond Lie. And that was them before they were Alice in Chains. And I think they only played a couple shows and saw them. And then, like I said, we would always go to concerts, and then they opened up for that band I was talking about earlier up in
Vane?
Vane. Davey Vane was a singer.
Okay.
In the Seattle show. And then a bunch of us, we all went and saw Warren at the Paramount, and Alice in Chains was on the bill. And so this was that band. All of a sudden, you're like, man, everyone's taking a liking to these guys. And, we saw them when they were Diamond Lie, and it was kind of cool. And so this definitely, of all the Seattle bands, kind of I have the most connection to with this album. It's undeniable. It's so good. And just like, I love the guitar riff on It Ain't Like That. That's what Kelsey's going to play for you.
Really good. I mean, I was going to play a song off Dirt. There's so many albums we could have included. We've already talked about that. Why rehash the past? Why ever go to the past? But let's rehash the past when we're talking about Pennywise, their Full Circle album, 1997, just had its 25th anniversary. Pennywise is a band that you can play anytime that you want to let loose some steam.
Love Pennywise.
We saw them 3 times last year, a couple times for sure. They're just kicking ass. I feel like they're getting better with age.
I know. I feel so spoiled because I worked on the Vans Warp tour when they were one of the headliners with Bad Religion, Flogging Molly, Agent Orange, and it was just I was with Agent Orange on that tour, and it was just like getting to see them back in the day. Their Straight Ahead album. It's just, I can't get enough of Pennywise.
Yeah, and they're so good. So this album, the song, I'm not going to play it, but this has the Bro Hymn tribute on it. And how many times have we been on stage singing that with them? 4 or 5 times, and every time it just like gives you chills just being on stage with that band singing. It's so good. Love Pennywise. Never a dull moment at their shows. Play this in the car. Play it at your home. You're going to love it. The song I want to play off this is called Broken. Hit it, Kelsie.
How protective pundits try to ruin my garden. Parents have therapists tell me I'm not one to blame. Pretending like a man, but I can understand why they won't leave me alone. Best friends and enemies, I got a better of my own. I've been used, been abused, I've been bruised, I've been broken, and I'm backed up against the wall. But my will to survive can be stolen. You can make me fall.
It's a doozy. Can you top that, Brian?
Well,
I bet you can.
yeah, from my home state, the New Bomb Turks, maybe.
Yeah.
You may not have listened to them a whole lot.
No,
I love them. They're just so raw and so full of energy. And then very first time I saw these guys was a place in Seattle that I don't think it exists anymore called the Weathered Wall. Loved them so much, and I'd see them at the Crocodile. And like Jim Davidson is one of the coolest lead singers. That guy is just amazing. The New Bomb Turks, they pretty much have set themselves up where they'll just play a few one-off shows, sell out, get a lot of money. But these guys had such a lasting impression on me for that time. It was just such a cool, like real raw, real fast, real dirty sounding. But this Information Highway Revisited album was just on constant play in my car stereo all the time. And then Kelsey's going to play you a song called The Id Slips In.
You want a tie rope in your hands, like I turn it in, loosen a pinch, and I'm never gonna kill myself again. Against the wall, yeah, I rest my head. I never lie when I'm in my bed, and I'm
So I've never seen them, but they come up on Spotify a lot, especially after I listen to a Dwarves album and then it goes to like related acts or whatever. But everything I've heard from them, I like it. Another album that I should probably borrow from you and listen
Yes.
to. Yeah, really good.
It's right here.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
before you leave,
Okay.
it's right there.
Hey, and anything from this pile you want, Brian? You're more than welcome. You probably have you had every album that I played?
Yeah.
You have Dookie?
No.
Yeah, see.
I don't. Yeah, I know.
You want some of my Dookie?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to have this one. Deftones, Around the Fur. Do you have it, Brian?
No.
1997. So good. I mean, could have included White Pony. That's
Adrenaline.
any of them. I really love this album. My Own Summer, Shove It, as it's called, and Around the Fur. I love that song. Be Quiet and Drive Away I could have included, but I like Around the Fur. I just want to hear that, Kelsie. Can we hear that? I love these guys, Deftones. Gino, he's quite the screamer,
Yeah.
but he's a great singer. I love him. Do you love him? Do you love me? You haven't said love me.
I love you.
Love you too. Kelsey, love you. It's a love trifecta. Oh, how do we should do that? I don't know.
You just draw it. It's
Yeah.
easier, and then you throw it.
Tattoos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this band, a lot of people haven't heard of them. They describe themselves as a country acid house music.
I like it. I like the sounds of
They're
it.
from England, the Alabama 3, or they go by A3. This is a band that does the theme song for The Sopranos, so you probably heard that.
Okay.
It's just such a cool band. They have so many musicians in the band that are so good at what they do. They have harp players, guitarists, piano, keyboard, percussionists, 2 singers. And they do this really cool banter with their lyrics. One has this real nasalized voice, the other baritone voice. Really amazing band. I just love the Alabama 3. All their albums are just so cool and unique. If you get a chance, get Exile on Cold Harbor Lane. Exile on Cold Harbor Lane. Such a cool album. This was definitely in the 90s. It was kind of cool because it was so different, but yet it wasn't jam bandy and mumbled up, because they had so many members. And but just it was that sound that I wanted to hear. It was just really, it's cool. And I think we are going to play a little part of the song "Ain't Gonna Go."
I don't need no free kid, DK, fractal geometry, crystal silicone chip. I ain't walking long ley lines, reading no high time. Put me on another bad trip. Oh well, Timothy Leary, just check out this theory. He sold assets for the FBI. Well, he ain't no website wonder. The guru just went under. You can keep your California sunshine.
Yeah, I believe you, D-Wayne.
Cause the righteous truth is, there ain't nothing worse than some fool lying on some third world beach in spandex.
You gave me an Alabama 3 album Is it La Peste?
Yes, that's so cool.
So I've listened to it. I liked it. I need to go back and revisit it.
I would have picked that, but that was released in 2003.
Okay.
That's
So
why.
what I've heard of them, I like them.
They're really fun.
Maybe a little more exploration on my part, but I can't borrow all your albums.
Right.
But you know what's good about me?
Yeah.
I return your albums.
I know. I love that.
I borrow, I listen to them, and I return them quick. I don't want them to get mixed into mine. I don't want you to lose them.
Right.
So if you've watched this show, every second of this show, actually on the first episode, we talked about this album, not because I loved it so much, because our whole first show was, hey naked. Oh, are we upside down, Kelsie?
No.
What do we do? Keep spinning it? I don't know what we're doing here. It's anyways, it's the debut album.
Inside was right for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Debut album by Queens of the Stone Age, which is one of the most important albums of my lifetime. And we talked about going to our first show together. It was seeing Queens of the Stone Age on the 15-year anniversary of this album, playing in Seattle. That was great. This album is... Kelsey's going to come over here. What's she going to do? Look at this. I don't want it to fall out. It's opaque. It's green. Look at that.
Now turn the inside. I don't know if that's going to get... Oh!
Sexy. Lots of boobs on here. Sorry, Mom and Dad, or anybody that's offended by boobs. Maybe we should show ours just to even it. No?
Nope.
Okay. So,
My gut will get in the way of those.
Mine too. There's like maybe 4 bands or musicians in my entire life that I can tell you exactly where I was when I first heard them. It's when Nirvana, Danko Jones, Queens of the Stone Age. I remember hearing them on the radio, their song If Only, and I'm like, oh, that's really good. It's different. I like it. And then it was on KSW, and whoever the DJ was. That's the new single from Queens of the Stone Age. I remember, God, what a stupid name, but great song. But they've stuck around, and I love this band so much. I love this album. And what are we playing? That's what I have notes for. I can't remember. Oh, we're playing How to Handle a Rope, which I really love. Your turn.
Oh, this really doesn't need any explaining. The Man in Black had his revival for most of the world back in the 90s with these Rick Rubin American recording albums. They're not cheap. How about this? This is a first pressing. It's
Does that say $75?
Yeah.
Wow.
But sometimes you got to have what you got to have. And he did, covers albums on all
Yeah,
these.
he was not looking well. He was pretty sick during some of these recordings,
Yeah,
wasn't
like the number 4 I got was really bad. But this was like one of the early of these ones. And Cage did some great covers. And this one was him doing Soundgarden's Rusty Cage.
Let's hear it.
You wired me awake and hit me with a hand of broken nails. You tied my lead and pulled my chain to watch my blood begin to boil. But I'm gonna break my rusty cage and run.
Who knew that was going to work? We talked about that briefly. Was it Rick Rubin's idea? It wasn't Johnny Cash's idea. It was Rick Rubin, right?
Right. At that point, you could have seen Johnny Cash playing at the Sherwood Inn in Lakewood, in those old motels doing shows like that. And then, he had gotten dropped by his record label and all of a sudden kind of got his career resurrected.
The resurrection of Johnny Cash. Love it. So, wow, I never go first. So this is the first time that I'm playing my last album before you.
Yeah.
This is my album. It's Rage Against the Machine's 1999 album, Battle of Los Angeles.
almost the end of the decade here.
Almost the end of the decade. Another killer album. Lots of amazing songs on this. Testify, Guerrilla Radio, Sleep Now in the Fire, Born of a Broken Man. I could have picked a lot of those. Born as Ghost even. But I want to play a song called Calm Like a Bomb, because that kind of describes me. I'm very calm, but if I go off, I go off.
I've never seen that.
I know, nobody ever has. But when the shit goes down, I'll be ready.
What you say, what you say, what you say, what? What you say, what you say, what you say, what? What you say, what you say, what you say, what? What you say, what you say, what you say, what? Well, come like a
Yeah, they touring. Those are some expensive tickets. I'd like to see them, but not at $300 or $500 a ticket.
I saw them April of 96, Las Vegas.
Los Vegas?
Yeah, they opened for U2.
Oh, interesting combo.
It was, but it was cool. It was U2's worst tour.
Was that the pop tour?
Yeah, I ended up getting tickets. My old neighbor was a bigwig for Ticketmaster, and like, hey, I got tickets. You want to go to Vegas and see them? And me and a buddy like, sure, and he gave us third row.
Where'd they play? UNLV? What was big? What did they have back?
Yeah, it got Sam.
Yeah,
Something.
Sam Boyd. Sam Boyd Stadium.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So this album, like, again, at the end of the 90s, I think I played this album all the way through to the 2000s because it was just pure rock and roll, which I loved. It was the Super Suckers and appropriately titled Evil Powers of Rock and Roll.
Such a good album.
Definitely their epic album. You know, the classic lineup intact with Dan Bolton, Eddie Spaghetti, Dan Siegel, and the late Montrose Heathman. This album was just so fun, and I've seen these guys so many times, and that's, you know, when I saw that was my introduction to the New Bomb Turks, seeing them open for the Super Suckers. But this album here, you just put it on, every song is just cool rock and roll, just good guitar riffs. It's just awesome. The song on here we're going to play you is called Dirt Roads, Dead Ends, and Dust.
Been alright for a while, been rolling on, and I surely can't complain. It's been good with the soda pop and Cabernet.
Really good band.
Yes.
That's a reminder, if you haven't watched the episode with Dancing Eagle, Dan Siegel, that was 3 or 4 episodes back. It was a great one.
Yes, and like I said, just all their albums were just cool rock, and that one definitely was like a really cool era in them. For the release of that, I remember seeing them on tour, and it was Zen Gorilla and the Helicopters. You know, they were supporting the Super Suckers. Like, talk about an introduction to 2 other amazing bands. It was just phenomenal seeing all the opening acts and stuff. But those kind of are essential albums. I mean, you guys might have been expecting, we're going to have Nevermind or Pearl Jam 10 or whatever. But these albums, like I say, were kind of more or less personal for us. And that's what the show's about.
It's all about that.
Yeah.
Giving you our personal touch. And I think that we want to touch every person personally.
Okay, so
physically, metaphorically, unilaterally.
Every which way.
Every which way. But, you know, I think, like we said, there's got to be a part 2 of this, because we just did 18 albums, and I think we're barely scratching the surface of all the great albums that came out in the 90s.
I know, like I said right before this episode, I was like, oh my God, this should have been number 1 for me.
Yeah.
That was just
a
like
band that has a really close personal connection to you. That
I know. But you know what? We're going to have some stories about that.
We're going to have some stories. And like always, you know, we haven't said you got to like and subscribe and comment. What was your favorite album from the 90s?
Right.
What would Wade Gifford
Wade Gifford would probably.
He's a pie tasters guy too.
Oh yeah, we all drink profusely to that band, you know. And it's every time the guitar Tom Gooden comes into town, I always remind him of that, and I think he's tired of hearing it. Well, we play. We'll go to a bar and we'll get the digital jukebox and we'll play the drinking song Maggie May, and I think he's like, God, quit playing my music.
Oh, he loves it.
He's such a great.
Who
guy.
doesn't love hanging out with Kaz and hearing Kaz stories? I mean, that's what this is all about, just so I can hear you talk. I don't even. Most of the time, I just want to shut up and hear you speak.
Oh.
Kelsie, you too. You want me to shut up? Kelsie keeps telling me, shut up, let Kaz speak.
But yeah, that was kind of it for the 90s. And I know a lot of people had, I mean, there were like certain bands like Green Apple Quickstep that I was in a big.
It's right over there.
I know.
It's right over there.
I mean, I could have another stack of just like Grunt Truck and
Yeah.
all those Seattle bands were cool. Maybe we'll do a Seattle episode.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned that I knew a girl that was dating Tyler of Green Apple Quickstep when they were Inspector Love, not when way back when.
Way back.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot 90s great time for music in our lives, and so we'll have to do this again. We'll take Kelsie, you'll have to name a few more of your albums. We'll include them there. Because does anybody know what you like, Kelsie? We want to know what you like. Sorry about that. Jeez, that's
Over here
embarrassing.
with
Can you cut that out? Cut it all out.
Spilly Vanilli over here.
But I think that's it. I'm hungry. I want to go eat some dinner.
Okay, then I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
I'm Kaz.
And I'm Shane. Thanks for watching this clumsy episode of For the Record with Kaz and Shay. We'll see you next time.